Oh, am I audible to you in the end? Yes. Audible that side? Good. So, good morning. Good to see you all. I hope you know what date it is. 18th. I hope you know the ones who started last year where they are right now. How many of you have filled this year's form? I'm just asking. कई बार होता है, just before the exam you realize I'm not prepared, and then you say, good. So, good. See, it's good that you have realized, some of you, that you're not prepared, because gauging in this exam becomes very important how prepared you are, right? One thing. But let me also share this, that almost to most of you, even once you have done your syllabus once, maybe twice, still this feeling keeps coming to you, that I'm not prepared, right? So that becomes a very, walking a very tightrope to understand whether I'm really prepared or not. So there are things which will give you a hint of whether you are prepared or not. Those are the things that we are going to talk about. And I'll be specifically talking around geography, right, and the aspects related to it. I am Harsh V. Singh. I'm with Vision for almost 9 years now. And I'm involved with the geography and some other parts such as ecology and all, disaster management, right? So I think some of the questions, I was outside and I heard some of you were asking questions around, sir, how many hours and all we need to put. So those are the things that I think some of the questions, sir, have already discussed. Some of them another faculty will discuss probably after the history session. So I'll be focusing more around geography, right? Good. And in the meantime, I would also expect you to ask, wherever you feel some questions, you note them down. Let's say by the end of the session, if I have not answered them, you can ask me whatever questions you have, okay? Now, the areas where I will focus in this session, right, these are the three things that we are going to focus in this session about geography. So first of all, why geography is there? Right, why has geography walked back in your life after, how many of you had geography in your class 11th and 12th, by the way? Okay, how many of you had geography in your graduation? Okay. I don't know whether this was good or bad for you. Right? How many of you are thinking of geography as an option? Okay, good. So, see, most of you are just like me, in whose life geography walked back after almost 6 years, right after the class 10th. Because after my board exam in class 10th also, I thank God that no more geography ever in my life. And God was also laughing. You don't know, son, what is my plan for you. Right? And one fine day, after all my engineering and all my job, once I, decided for UPSC, I picked up the syllabus and I saw geography. And my seniors also said, "Yaar, geography mein acha score aa raha hai," right? So, but then there's something that changed in my mind. The way I perceived geography till that day, and the way I started perceiving geography after that day, changed, right? And that's largely because we do not understand the importance of geography in our school days, right? So first of all, that's why I said, why geography? So why is UPSC putting that geography part in your prelim syllabus and main syllabus? This is something that you need to understand first, because unless you understand the importance of geography, unless you understand the importance of anything in your life, you actually do not get interest in that, right? If you recall also, from, as I generally say, if you recall from your past, anything that you remember is nothing but events which were important to you. Right? Importance does not always means you have to like it. Even your dislikings could be important to you. Right? So you remember things which either you liked or you disliked. Right? If I ask you, okay, आज से 15 साल पहले का, what do you remember? Right? You would remember that one incident or one read or one, something which you would recall and say, this is something that I either liked or disliked, but I still remember it. Right? So first you have to either like or dislike something so as to remember. If you are neutral to it, it won't remain in your memory, right? So you have to decide whether from here onwards I would like geography or dislike geography, whichever way. Now that you have decided to give UPSC, right, next year you will be giving somewhere around this time, you will be in your hall and we will be talking to the next lot, right? And you would be like, ye aata hai, nahi aata hai, whatever, right? So my purpose right now is to help you start liking geography a bit, one. Then second, where do you start geography from for your UPSC thing, and how do you approach it? That's it. This is where we are going to talk, right? So if I ask you, very simply, if I ask you what is the importance of geography in your life, right, from whatever general observations you have, what geography do you see around yourself? Do you see geography around yourself? Just give me some answers. कहाँ दिख रहा है आपको geography? I'm not saying, मतलब बोर्ड को छोड़ के और कहाँ geography दिख रहा है? Environment, weather, climate. अच्छा, what is happening in the climate in the sense कि कहाँ पे बादल बन रहे हैं? El Nino effect, oh Baba. For most of you who have never heard of El Nino, this is some kind of an effect which happens in the ocean and atmosphere, which is of importance to you. Right, don't worry, many of them don't even know El Nino hota kya hai. Effect to bahut dur ka cheez hai. ठीक है? Yeah, so El Nino effect, right? What more? What more do you? Huh? Disaster. कुछ positive नहीं दिख रहा है यार. मतलब if you start with El Nino disaster, life बहुत gloomy हो जाएगा कुछ दिनों में. ठीक है? So start seeing things which are positive around you from geography. Yes, mountains. हाँ? Plains, plateaus, very good. GC Leong पढ़ लिया chapter number 2? हाँ? हाँ जी, yes, what else? हाँ? Vegetation, okay, good. हाँ? Vacations. Now she's talking some sense. Right, in the middle of the summer she's talking of vacation. So where do you go for vacation? Achha, she runs to the mountains, and then in the winters where do you run? To the oceans? अच्छा दिल्ली ठीक है अच्छा नहीं दिल्ली not अब ठीक नहीं रहा, it has become too polluted, right? But anyways, good. So mountains, right? Oceans. What else? Something more. There's this is a bit okay. This is something important, but something more.
How this world is formed.
Come again? Yeah, you only. Yeah, you said something. I think I heard. Yeah.
Sir, we should know how this world is formed.
How?
How this cosmos.
How the world was formed. Okay. The world was formed with Earth was formed. Okay. How was the Earth formed? Availability of resources. So first you have to know what are resources, and then the availability. Resources. Economy. You have a session on economy, right? So there you'll be talking about resources. I hope some of you know what is a resource. What is a resource? That is of use to us, right? Anything of which we know a use, right? So if you see around yourself, there are a lot many resources, right? You have human resource, one simple resource. Mind is a resource for you, second. And physical resource, right? So when you see physical resource, there are a lot of physical resources around you, right? What are the physical resources that we have around us? Water, air, soil, say, sunlight, I'm hearing, petrol, plants, oil. See, इस room में देखो यार, you will see, this room is full of resources. You just see around yourself. You look at yourself and you will find resource. You take out your mobile, there is a resource in that. You have lithium in that. You have silicon in that. है ना? Have you seen? Mobile निकालो जेब से. Do you know how all of you have lithium in your pockets? कभी सोचा है? हाँ? और कुछ होना हो? लिथियम जेब में रख के घूमते हैं. Right? What else? Think. Say. Now see. अब देखो. और कुछ देखो. The cement, the structure, the board, the plastic. Right? These lamps. Everything. Whatever you are wearing, cotton, garment, textile, synthetic fiber. है ना? Pen, plastic. सोचा है कभी? Everything is a resource around you, right? And where does it come from? Nature. Different sources. Where are they? Some Okay, artificial like? Plastic. What is the source of plastic? Chemical engineers? अभी कोई नहीं बोलेगा, you know, कि sir I'm the chemical engineer, I'm the chemistry, you know. Whenever I ask तब कोई उससे में नहीं बोलता, यार चुप रहे मत बताइयो. ठीक है? Yes. Huh? Where does it come from? What is the source of plastic? Polymers. Polymers पढ़ा है? Monomers, polymers. Huh? Chemistry. Do you remember that periodic table? Do you remember? Huh? Mendeleev. स्कूल वो याद है? स्कूल के अंदर एक केमिस्ट्री नाम का टीचर होता था. केमिस्ट्री का टीचर. ऐसा सा एक मकान बनाया था उन्होंने. याद है कुछ ऐसा मकान? A structure of this kind. क्या था ये? Periodic table. How many elements? हाँ? 112, 14, 17, 18. पीटी का क्वेश्चन है. ढूंढो केमिस्ट्री में मिलेगा जाकर के, राइट? What were these elements? What are these elements? पढ़ा केमिस्ट्री में. What are these? These are the building blocks of the universe that you see around yourself. Building blocks of the universe. These are the atomic building blocks. Everything and anything that you see around yourself, including you, and anything is made out of this building block. Right? So as to understand the importance of chemistry, you have to understand, what does chemistry give you? Chemistry gives you every element that you see around yourself. Anything. Element, compound, right? So chemistry ends at the story of compounds. And from compounds, what do you derive? In those compounds only you have monomers and polymers. That's where your organic chemistry starts. Right? And then you have cells. And once you come to cells, what do you find? That's the beginning of biology. And from cells you go up to cells, then tissues, organs, organism. Up to organism you have biology. Right? And from organism where do you go? Organism, population, individual, population, community, ecology. This is your ecology and environment. Yes or no? Am I wrong? Am I right? Right? And this is it. Organism, and who sits on the top of that organism pyramid? You. The most responsible organism. And community. So you have to understand your importance in this whole thing. Right? And if you go into the chemistry, there are forces which bind those subatomic particles, photons. पढ़ा है? Quantum physics वाले कुछ होंगे यहाँ पे, right? Bosons, नाम सुना है ये सब? Higgs boson, all that. There are news articles. So what you find around yourself is everything and anything that you see is a combination of physics, chemistry, biology, right? Everything. All those natural sciences are, intertwined so as to give you your surrounding. And your surrounding you come to know from geography. So this is the importance of geography in your life. Geography tells you whatever is formed around you, how it is formed. And where does the story start from? Every story starts from somewhere. Where does this story start from? Big Bang. Right? Big Bang was the moment from which the formation of the universe started. And this is where your first chapter of geography, NCERT, starts from. Formation of the universe and the earth. How many of you have bought that NCERT? Okay, so you don't know which NCERT, right? But once you start preparing, your geography starts in your class 11. The first chapter starts from formation of the universe. After that, it comes to the earth, right? And in the earth, it starts with the formation of the earth, then the atmosphere, the climate, right? The lithosphere, the ocean, everything on it. Right? And then the different formations. So if I say on the surface of the earth, what all do you find? Kya kya milta hai? What all do you find on the surface? You have water in the form of oceans and the rivers. So you have fresh water and salty water, right? And then you have land, right? And on the land, what do you find? On the land, what do you find? Which is the biggest formation on the land? Forests. Biggest formation on in sense of a physical structure, probably a mountain. So continent itself is land, but on the continent, what do you find? You find mountains, you find plateaus, and you find plains. right? And in those mountains, what originates? Rivers, right? And where do they flow? Can you name some of the major rivers that you have heard? Forget geography. नाम तो सुना होगा 22 साल मतलब ऐसा तो है नहीं you know let's say 20 whatever years I was born and after that today in between कुछ सुना देखा नहीं है ऐसे हो नहीं ना कुछ तो सुना होगा so give me some names of rivers that you know हुआंग हो वाओ इंडिया से स्टार्ट नहीं करना हाँ वेट हाँ गंगा ब्रह्मपुत्र हाँ इंडस और झेलम चेनाब वाओ गुड यार ग्रेट अब थोड़ा सा बाहर जाते हैं हाँ अब ओवर क्राउड हो गया है यस तो टिग्रिस यूफ्रेटिस नाइल वाओ ग्रेट यार नाउ कैन यू रिकॉल समथिंग मोर दैट फॉर्म्ड अराउंड दीज रिवर्स civilizations right so if the mountains were not there have you ever thought will we ever get a river major river if mountains are not there what are mountains for us mountains for us are water towers टंकियां होती है ना घर पे आपके छत पे एक पानी का टंकी है वहां से पानी बहता है पूरे घर में पानी आता है mountain is like that mountain is a water tower what does it store glaciers what comes from them rivers are nothing but the pipelines of your house they bring water to every corner of your house and around those rivers what do you have civilization so you grew in the Indus Valley or the Ganga Valley or the Nile or the Euphrates or the Tigris or the Wango because of the mountains which were the source of those rivers. Right? Now what more do we need around them? What else does the river bring? The soil. Right? Rivers are also source of a fertile soil. And what do you do in that fertile soil? क्या करते हैं? You either have the natural vegetation as he rightly said, and then what do we do? Once we see this place has excellent soil for natural growth of vegetation, what do human beings do? Go cut down the vegetation and then pick our vegetation, which we call as crops. We domesticate plants, grow them, and around them we grow what we call as agriculture. What is agriculture? Domestication of plants and animals, right? And because of those plants and animals that we grow, we are able to live in big communities. And that is the source of communities and societies. And that's where societies pick their culture from. Cultural practices are ingrained in the region in which that society grows, right? So if a society grows in a region where animals will grow, that society might be pastoral. They might be having more animals. If a society is in a region where more crops will grow, they will be crop oriented. Now, depending on the crop, whether they are rice eating community or wheat eating community, they will be either consuming pastas or they will be consuming what? Tofus. Right? Tofu is made out of soya bean. And rice, what do you have? Sushi. So if you see the Japanese, they are more into consuming sushi. And if you see the Italians, they are more into consuming pastas. That's largely because of the soil. The soil gives them these crops. Do we get it? Right? So this is how your societies grow. And what do the societies do further? They specialize. And specialization leads to growth of economy. Right? Because you specialize into few activities and then you exchange. And that exchange is nothing but efficient allocation of resources. This is the basic of economics. Economy is nothing but efficient allocation of resources. And then how do you control that society? You come up with laws and rules, and that's where your polity grows. Right? Those laws turn into polity for a region. So do you understand the importance of geography? It sets the platform for growth of everything around it. Right? So if you try to understand geography from this perspective, it will become extremely interesting. Right? And that is the reason why, that is the cause why UPSC has put geography in your syllabus. Because until unless you know the fundamental cause, you will not understand why a society behaves a particular way, why an economy behaves a particular way. Why do we import oil from the Gulf and export, thorium to Japan? Do you get it? Or rare earth metals to some other country. To understand this allocation, you have to understand the geography of a region. I hope you get this, right? So this is the why of this geography thing. Now, where do you read it from? Now, keep in mind that while preparing for UPSC, please do not deviate, because there are so many things that you have to do. Polity sir has already talked about it. More sirs will be talking about, ma'ams will be talking about them. So just to ensure that you do not deviate, the next thing that you need to do is, you need to understand how much do I need to do. Do I have to become a geography, bachelor? Do I have to become a master's in geography? No. The syllabus has a limited domain, right? You have to cover only that much. Where do you find the syllabus? कहाँ मिलेगा? Sir, friend से पूछेंगे. कौन देगा? Who will give you the syllabus? UPSC कहाँ मिलेगा UPSC? UPSC जाना पड़ेगा? वेबसाइट क्या है? वाह, वहाँ पे क्या मिलेगा? नोटिफिकेशंस. उसमें क्या मिलेगा? 2018 नोटिफिकेशन. डाउनलोड करो. उसमें क्या मिलेगा? प्रीलिम सिलेबस. प्रीलिम सिलेबस में ज्योग्राफी का सिलेबस. व्हाट डज इट से? ज्योग्राफी ऑफ इंडिया एंड द वर्ल्ड. व्हाट डज इट से? फिजिकल, सोशल एंड इकोनॉमिक ज्योग्राफी. दैट्स इट. सिलेबस ओवर. राइट, कुछ समझ में आया? नहीं, एक लाइन में पूरा सिलेबस खत्म हो गया. राइट, फिर क्या करोगे? मेन सिलेबस. वहाँ पे जाओगे, क्या मिलेगा? सेलिएंट फीचर्स ऑफ वर्ल्ड फिजिकल ज्योग्राफी. दूसरा क्या है? फैक्टर्स अफेक्टिंग लोकेशन ऑफ प्राइमरी, सेकेंडरी, टर्शरी रिसोर्स, टर्शरी सेक्टर्स. उसके बाद जियो फिजिकल फिनोमिनास. ये सब भी सुन के कुछ समझ में आ रहा है? Am I sounding Arabic to you? I should, because you don't know these words, right? So that's okay, right? So syllabus is, but yes, the syllabus does give you a hint of what to prepare, so that you first focus on your syllabus. Now, after the syllabus, so for the ones who, right, you go there, get the notification, from there you get the syllabus. Apart from that, you have n number of more websites, you get it from anywhere. Right, doesn't matter. कुछ नहीं है, you go and pick a book which is, I think we have also given you a handout, right? You have those handouts with you? मिला है कुछ? आज vision, अच्छा ये मिला है, और कुछ मिला है? अच्छा, we have a page which is there on the website which says how to prepare geography, GS geography. You can download it from VISION IAS free resources section, and I have given you a good breakup of how do you go about it. I'll discuss it very briefly here. Now, from here you get the syllabus. Right, after the syllabus, you have, what is the second source? Which is the second most authentic source to tell you about this exam? Excellent. Previous year questions. Previous year मतलब कब से start करना है? 1956, 76, 96, 2016. या 1.5 घंटे बाद 2017. अभी आ जाएगा, आधा घंटा में, पेपर will be there. ठीक है ना? कहाँ से स्टार्ट करोगे? Where will you start from? Many people, what do they do? When you are really, really excited, generally what do you do? You go and pick the first question, 1976. 76, 77, 78. Questions which actually your father and mother should have seen. Right? Maybe उनसे भी पहले का है वो. ठीक है? By the time you reach 1980, 90, tea break. And then you give up. बहुत हो गया यार. Actually, you have not even seen what you are expected to answer, right? So you start from 2017. जब तक ये सेशन से निकलोगे 17 भी आ जाएगा, don't worry, right? So 17 PT, then 16, then 15, and go up to last 5 to 7 years maximum, right? So starting from this year, go backward only up to last 7 years. Actually, 2012-13 onwards, you have a complete change in the mains paper pattern. Right, the PT questions also, if you see last 7 or 8 years back, so there has been slight change. So if you are seeing those 7 years question, good enough. ठीक है, where will you find these questions? कहाँ मिलेगा? UPSC दे रहा है, yes. UPSC gives you 16, 15, 14, 13. ये सबका PT questions are loaded. So go get those questions. Otherwise, you have those 10-year planners. From there also you get those questions. The focus should be right, as I am saying, otherwise you will be lost in this battle. Right? You are in the middle of a battle, right? Where you don't know where I am and whom to attack at until unless you really know. हर बार पेपर में से पर्ची निकाल के देखना है, नेक्स्ट फोटो किसका है, ये वाला है, इस पे ठीक है, नेक्स्ट फोटो किसका है. That focus is required. Otherwise, let me tell you, you will be lost. Right? So these are the sources which will tell you about where do you prepare from. And that's it. To me, this is it. You don't have to ask your seniors. बहुत ज़्यादा मत पूछो यार, क्योंकि उनके ऊपर भी एक मोरल बर्डन होता है. The moment you go and ask your senior, सर क्या करना है, the one who has himself never been able to make out क्या करना है, right, is under a moral pressure. अब तो इसने पूछ लिया है कॉलेज में, और यहाँ पे मैंने इतना शो पानी मारा हुआ है, मुझे तो आंसर करना ही पड़ेगा. तो वो बेचारा सबसे मुश्किल बुक्स निकालेगा, ये सब पढ़ लेना है. आपको भी लगा यार मैं बेकार में NCERT में लाइफ बर्बाद कर रहा था, ठीक है, आई शुड हैव स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम दीज बुक्स. एंड आफ्टर 2 years you are under the same moral pressure. Right? So just to avoid that moral pressure, the best thing to do is that you stick to these questions, only UPSC questions. There are, if you see PT, you have more than 500-700 questions. That's a good enough source to let you know क्या पढ़ना है. अगर 700 क्वेश्चन से सेंस नहीं बन रहा है तो फिर शायद कभी नहीं बन पाएगा. Do you get it? So just stick to these questions. From that you make out a sense, and from there you keep going ahead, right? And do not go to what others have to tell you too much. थोड़ा मोड़ा sense लो, that's okay. But the best source is this. So this was the why and the where, in the sense of where do you get a sense. Now what do you read? Right? I'll give you a list of things that you need to refer, because the session is all about how do you prepare. Which books do you start from? First give me your names. क्या क्या नाम पता है यार, बता डालो. हाँ, गौचैंग लियोंग, अच्छा. And let me also have a sense of how much time I have. So you have GC Leong, okay. और बोलो क्या नाम है इनका बुक का? इन्होंने 2 बुक लिखा बाय द वे, पता है? हाँ, सर्टिफिकेट फिजिकल एंड ह्यूमन ज्योग्राफी, वो बुक है, ऑक्सफोर्ड पब्लिकेशन, ऑरेंज कलर, सर्टिफिकेट फिजिकल एंड ह्यूमन ज्योग्राफी, ठीक है. बट और बताओ, और क्या बुक है? एक सेकंड यार, ये नाम यहाँ नहीं लिखूंगा, बहुत भारी है. हाँ, और हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल, बहुत जरूरी. सविंदर सिंह और खुल्लर, और हाँ, सॉरी यार ये तो मैंने भी नहीं सुना है बट बता रहा हूँ फिर भी. हाँ क्या? अच्छा चलो ठीक है, इन्होंने एक और नाम बोला है, ठीक है. और कुछ बता डालो यार, और कुछ नाम नहीं पता? स्पेक्ट्रम, अच्छा. और हाँ हाँ, सिंप्लेक्स, एटलस, अच्छा नहीं, देखो मुझे भी क्या क्या सुनाई देना शुरू हो गया. एटलस एंड NCERT तक तो पहुंचा ही नहीं कोई यार, नहीं सुना NCERT के बारे में? NCERT, अच्छा. कौन सा NCERT? हाँ, 6 to 10th, 11, 12th. हाँ, ये तो क्लास है. NCERT का वर्जन्स भी है बाय द वे. हाँ, कौन सा है? ओल्डेस्ट, ओल्डर एंड न्यू, ठीक है. कौन सा वाला NCERT का ये सब पढ़ना है? न्यू, अच्छा. और कोई बुक? बस, ठीक है, वेरी गुड. सो ठीक है, ये सब आपका डोंट का लिस्ट है. प्लीज डू नॉट स्टार्ट विद देम. राइट? वेयर डू यू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम? यू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम नॉट इवन दिस. बिफोर दिस यू हैव, वहां जाओ, NCERT. राइट? You start with class 11th and 12th. right? Do not start with class 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th, right? Class 11th and 12th start the geography from almost scratch. The problem is, at times you do not get the language. If you find the challenge in the language, that's where you go to class 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th. Else you don't go to class 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th. Right? I assume most of you have passed your class 12th. I'm assuming. Okay? And if you do not understand what the class 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 say, then start reading some language books and literature books. The challenge is with literature and language, not with geography. Okay? There is nothing more fundamental than class 6th level geography. मतलब छठे के बच्चे को समझ में आ गया, आपको नहीं आ रहा तो आप समझो यार language का problem. ठीक है? That's okay, perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. But right? But this is it. That's where you start. So class 11th NCERT. There are 4 NCERTs in your class 11th. कौन सा है? You have the first one is fundamentals of physical geography. That is the first. Now go on writing these things because that's where you have to study. Right? The ones who are aiming 2018, this is the book for them. I can share this to you with you because of some of the previous, I remember 2015 we had a similar session, there was a similar girl, मतलब आपके जैसे ही बच्चे बैठे थे, there were 2 candidates from them, इस साल उनका selection है 186 and I think और कुछ rank है. Right, so there are people who walk in, they pick the right books, they keep working for that 1 year and next year PT clear, mains clear, interview clear, rank. Right, that girl that I'm talking to, I think she might be there in some of our sessions. She joined us in 2015 November. Right, similar, aapke jaisa hi. Picked up the books, read through, giving an improvement attempt. Right, so if you also focus right, you have ample time. If you get diverted, that's where you get lost. So start with your NCERT class 11, 12. The first is fundamentals of physical geography. Start with the first chapter, universe. Then you have the second chapter, formation of oceans and the continents. Right? After that, the story will go on. Read all the NCERT chapters of class 11th. All. Up to the end is biodiversity. That is the last chapter in that NCERT. Right? So you have to read all the chapters of fundamentals of physical geography class 11. Then you have India physical environment NCERT. That is the second book of class 11. India physical environment. You read that book almost from the first chapter, which is introduction, till the last chapter, which is disaster management. Right? So you read the whole book. Right? Then you read the third book, which is fundamentals of human geography. Right? This is class 11th NCERT. And where do you get these books from? ncert.gov.in, nic.in, right? nic.in, English, ebooks, class 11th, you pick and you can download all these chapters. You don't have to buy also. जो पैसा घर से मिल गया उसको देख लो क्या करना है. You decide. ठीक है? Book तो free download हो जाता है. ठीक है? So you decide what you want to do. So this is your 11th fundamentals of human geography. There also you have to read almost all the chapter except for the settlement chapter. The settlement chapter is of no use to you almost. There is a world settlement chapter. That is of no use to you. Broadly, they do not ask you questions from settlement, world settlement. Right? Then you come to the fourth book, which is this India, People and Economy NCERT. Right? The name of the book is People and Economy. This is a geography book. Right? In that also you start with the first chapter. There you read the settlement also. What all will you find? You will find population, you will find migration, you will find settlement, then you will find primary, secondary and tertiary sectors. Then you will find transport, communication, international trade. The international trade chapter of this book as well as the previous book, which is Fundamentals of Human Geography, will build your basic of international trade, economy and international relations. Right? So this is it. These are the 4 books that you need to read. After that, you come to that G.C. Leong book. G.C. Leong Certificate Physical and Human Geography book. There you start with not the first chapter, complete. You leave the first chapter, first part, which is universe, because that was written in 1970s. Universe has evolved since then, at least as per our understanding. So uske andar abhi bhi 9 planets hai. Right? So you come to what your NCERT says, leave the first part, start from where they start. The first chapter of G.C. Leong starts with date and time. That's where you start the chapter from, right? Not the universe. And from there you read it till chapter number 25, right? The whole thing, except for the chapter on weather, which is chapter number I think 11 or 12, right? One is weather, the other is climate. The climate chapter you read, weather chapter, please don't read. Because it becomes a bit technical in terms of measurement of barometers and all. You don't need to do that, right? This is it. If you are done with this, and then you read it, and then you reread it, and then you reread it, and you read it as many times as you want. And I can assure you, every time you will read it, you will find something new in it. Even I find it after, I don't know how many times I have read these books, right? But I still find something new every time. It gives me a connect to anything which is in current or something. So it will help you, and it will assure that your attempts in your PT are right. And your mains facts are right. Right? So this is the source. That's it. If you are done with this, one more thing that will supplement your understanding is the atlas. So which atlas do I pick? You pick a student's atlas or a school atlas. Either Oxford or Orient Longman. किसी कोई दोनों में से एक ले लो. Student or school atlas. Both of them are good enough. Right? That's it. इतना ही पढ़ना है. आपको माजिद हुसैन, खुल्लर, मजूमदार, सविंदर सिंह, you don't have to read them right now. Once you are done with the NCRTs, then you yourself will understand how much section of these books I have to read. You have to read some pages of Khullar. You have to read some pages of Savinder Singh, not the whole book. Right now you have no sense of what not to read. Right? So first read your NCRTs, then only touch these books. Otherwise you will be lost in those books. Okay? So this is your geography thing. In addition to this, the only thing you have to add is current affairs. Where do you add it from? Pick any one proper current source, wherever you can put your heart and soul and mind. It could be vision, it could be whatever. There are many current sources. But stick to one and read the whole year's current affair from there. Okay? Whole year. पूरा साल, 1.5 साल का current affair पढ़ना है. So if you are appearing in 2018, you have to start from January 2017. Right? And what do you pick in geography? You pick agriculture related aspects, you pick industry related aspects, you pick mineral related aspects, forest, vegetation, all these things. Right? New locations which have been in news more than twice or thrice, they can ask you. Right? So this is it. If you read this much, I think I can assure you your geography will be taken care of. And you are already prepared for disaster management, ecology, environment, all these things. And many more things which you would realize later. Right? So this is your why all the three answered. And that's it. This is all I had to share with you. Right? If you have anything to ask me, else the session gets over. Yeah. सबसे नया वाला. ठीक है, पुराना वाला छोड़ दीजिए, लैंड एंड पीपल छोड़ दीजिए. सबसे नया जो ncrt.nic.in पे है वो सबसे नया ही है, पुराना है ही नहीं. तो यही पढ़ना है. Why? Because every year NCERT is picking 1 or 2 or 3 questions directly from these chapters. तो पुराना पढ़ लोगे वहां से उठा ही नहीं रहे. राइट? इसी को पढ़ो. राइट? मत पढ़ो. अगर पढ़ लिया है तो कोई बात नहीं, नया को फिर से एक बार तो पढ़ना ही है. Reason being, as I said, UPSC is picking question directly line by line in mains and PT from these NCERTs. Right? We can discuss this. There are many questions which I can share. If you see last year's question, last to last year question, mains question, tea plantation का question, steel industry का question, वो सब का सब नया वाला NCERT से उठाया हुआ है. You get? So there are questions which they are asking, why should you leave them? You can leave them only at your risk. ठीक है? Anything else? India Yearbook will come later. Right? India Yearbook you have to talk of somewhere in January 2018, not right now. And once you are done with geography, you will yourself understand that from India Yearbook, I have to pick the chapter which is on land and people, on agriculture, on industry, right? Because you would yourself realize कि NCERT का data 2010 का है. I have to pick the 2018 data. Simple. How to prepare for mains answer? See, mains answer, you have to look into those questions and start writing right now. Write those 150 word answers every day. Don't worry about the quality right now. Right? Try to put what you know and gradually start showing those answers to your seniors and surrounding, right? Or teachers. You can send them, don't worry. I mean, you don't have to be an enrolled student to send them to me also. I can give you at least some hints on some of the questions. I'll share my email ID. We can always discuss, right? But do show to some people so that you get a sense कि हम कहाँ खड़े हैं. Probably down the line you will join a test series. That will also help you. But get in the practice of writing. Anything else?
While starting, so should we be subject specific or should I study the several subjects in a day?
Maybe start with 1 or 2 subjects maximum at a time, so that you don't get too much bored with one subject, but don't start with 3 or 4 subjects, because then you don't get a sense of any subject.
Like if I start with geography, how many days should I do?
Let's say if you start with geography and if you're sincere about it, I think 1.5 months is good enough to complete geography along with some other subject partially, right? Yeah.
Do we need to study all the data that are provided?
You don't have to. You have the sense you will get from कहाँ से मिलेगा? PT questions. They themselves will tell you to what level data I need to pick and what are the data that I have to leave. Right? By gauging the quality of the data rather than the numbers. Are they asking me national data? Are they asking me district data? Right? Yes. You can start writing. First read the chapter, see the question. From every chapter you will get at least one question in the UPSC mains. Start writing there, then and there. Right? And after you have written, read the chapter once again or revise it. You will get a sense मैंने miss क्या किया है. Then improve your answer. And do not improve your answer that very day. Improve your answer after 1 week. Right? Once you read something that you have written after 1 week, you get slightly disassociated and you are really able to objectively gauge the quality of the answer. उसी दिन पढ़ोगे तो लगेगा मैंने तो सब कुछ लिख दिया है. Right? After 1 week, you are slightly okay. कुछ तो गड़बड़ है. You get it? I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, notes making, good thing. Every chapter, once you read, in the beginning or the end of the chapter, everything which was important in the chapter should have been written. So that the next time when you read it, you only first read those things, then you read the chapter, and then you sense मैंने क्या miss किया था, you again write it. In 2 or 3 readings, only your written part becomes important. The chapter is already there in your notes. That's it. And for every chapter, you have your own notes. Right? So you are not now reading NCERT. And then you can add anything current also in those chapters itself. So your NCERT becomes your NCERT, which will be different from his NCERT.
So then we would be covering NCERT.
Yeah.
And then after going to GC long.
Yeah.
So then there are some same chapters.
Yes.
So we need to cover them again.
Yes, you have to, because, for example, landforms and all are given better in your GC Leong. Right? Climatic regions is given very well in the GC Leong. Climatic region is also, world climatic region is one part which you can miss in your NCERT. The Köppen's classification which is given in the NCERT, UPSC will not ask you that. So read that from GC Leong. You can write that part also. I think, yeah. 1 or 2 more questions and then I have to wind up because time is over, the next faculty is waiting. Yeah.
Do we need to study those graphs or those diagrams that are given in geography? Like
Just to get a sense of what do they intend to tell you, rather than memorizing those graphs. Every graph gives you a hint. For example, when you reach climatic regions of some section, you will find that you have rainfall twice with the 2 maximas.
some diagrams also, sir, like they are mentioning anything.
For example,
Ocean reach or
yes, those diagrams which are world diagrams, you have to somewhat understand what is the current, what is the direction of winds, those you have to. Because that's where the PT questions lie. If you see last year question, they asked you, between 30 degrees south and 60 degrees north, the winds which blow are westerlies. That was a wrong answer. The question should have been 30 degree south to 60 degrees south, or 30 degree north to 60 degree north. Right? So they just confuse you. Until unless you can, close your eyes and recall kaun sa region hona chahiye. Right? So I think that's it. Yeah. This much is almost enough for optional. That almost we will fill once you are done with this much first. Right? First you do this much. अभी engineering first year में तो नहीं बता देना, 4th year में project क्या कराएंगे? Wait करो यार, ठीक है? Yes. हाँ? Class में यही, we'll follow the sequence. If you find how to approach geography, I have given a handout. 25 classes I have given for every class, which chapter you have to read and come to the class. Right? So if you are done with that, you are in tune with the class. Else you might find, yaar, ye kya bhasha chal rahi hai. So if you read slightly, you know what is happening. It's there on the website. It's there from the office. You can collect it. It is called How to Prepare GS Geography. It's there on the website, free resources section or somewhere. Right? It's there. I have seen. Today morning only I have cross-checked. I think that's it. Okay. Thanks a lot.